Some researchers claim that mysterious beings, far ahead of us in terms of technology, once built what we now call the moon not as a natural satellite, but as an enormous starship. According to this idea, the ship has two layers, an inner shell resembling a hollow body, and an outer crust made of metallic slag. Its walls are said to be dozens of kilometers thick, reinforced with a heat-resistant coating, while its vast seas act as natural shields against asteroid impacts. If this bizarre construct truly exists, it would be unimaginably ancient. Some authors even suggest it could be 40 billion years old, older than the universe itself. To them, the creators of the moon might have been nothing less than the architects of the cosmos, perhaps even the gods of old myths. Could such advanced beings still be resting deep within the hollow interior, silently watching us? In 1975, researcher Don Wilson published a book called Our Mysterious Spaceship Moon, compiling evidence he believed supported the artificial moon hypothesis. One strange observation was that certain surface plates seemed to shift slightly, then return to their original positions with incredible precision, almost as if controlled by advanced machinery beneath the surface. Critics argue that, from an engineering standpoint, the moon would be a terrible spacecraft. Its enormous mass would require unimaginable amounts of energy to maneuver far more than any civilization would reasonably use. But defenders of the idea respond differently. Paranormal investigator Yuri Senkin believed the moon might not be just a ship, but a cosmic lifeboat built to shelter life in case of catastrophe on Earth. Some even go further, proposing that the moon could be a vast alien laboratory, carefully studying Earth, its environment, and every living thing on it, including us. Could strange periscopes or scanning devices be hidden beneath the lunar soil? Conspiracy theorists point to blurry photos, odd shadows, and unusual structures on the surface. Claims range from giant industrial complexes hidden inside, to tunnels, strange towers, and dome-like buildings that supposedly cannot be explained by natural processes. For example, the Apollo mission images spark debates about artificial platforms and even spire-like towers that some argue are evidence of alien engineering. Skeptics counter that these are simply illusions caused by image processing, lens flares, or natural formations. Mainstream science rejects all such claims. Seismic data shows the moon has a solid, layered interior with a crust, mantle, and small core-nothing hollow inside. Its density, structure, and even the so-called ringing, like a bell phenomenon, all have natural explanations. Still, mysteries remain. The moon's nearly circular orbit, the perfect size ratio that allows solar eclipses, and its striking resemblance in composition to Earth all raise fascinating questions. Over the decades, several theories have emerged that the moon formed alongside Earth from the same primordial disk, that it was once part of Earth torn away by centrifugal force, or that it was the aftermath of a colossal collision with a Mars-sized planet called Dea. Each theory explains part of the evidence, but none fully solves the puzzle. Whatever its true origin, the moon is unique. Some scientists even call the Earth-Moon system one of the most remarkable duos in the galaxy. And as humanity prepares to return, colonize, and mine its rarest helium-3, rare metals, and beyond, we may finally uncover the truth hidden in our silent neighbor. Attention, space travelers, suit up. We're heading to the moon, and whatever we find up there, we'll meet it with curiosity and a healthy dose of caution. It's easy to be startled. The moon sits so close to us and has been studied so much, yet it still manages to surprise. What if the ground beneath our boots suddenly rang like a bell? What if the surface were turned inside out? What if the moon turned out to be an engineered shell hiding a fantastical interior? Scientists still have big gaps in our understanding of Earth's satellite, which leaves plenty of room for wild and surprisingly persistent ideas. Some are purely fictional. Others have historically attracted serious attention. So let's tighten our helmets and course the ship toward lunar mysteries. Ancient peoples around the world left strange clues, myths, and stories that suggest the moon wasn't always part of the sky. Writers from North America, Africa, India, Mesopotamia, Greece, and Rome recorded tales implying the moon appeared after a global catastrophe, a world-shaping flood in many traditions. Even Aristotle describes certain peoples as prelunar, implying cultures that remembered a sky without our companion. Across the globe, from the Indian subcontinent to Tierra del Fuego, legends exist of the moon rising into the heavens from the ocean's fury. These motifs didn't stop at folklore. They reappear in fiction. 18th-century works like Ludwig Holberg's Subterranean Voyage and H.G. Wells' early 20th-century stories, up to modern film and anime that imagine artificial satellites and weaponized moons. Star Wars' Death Star, a metal moon-sized weapon, is an obvious pop culture touchstone. Other stories, like the film Moonfall or certain anime, treat the moon as an engineered construct, sometimes a spaceship or an ancient testbed built by a vanished advanced civilization. The idea that the moon might be hollow or artificial isn't new. In 1692, Edmund Halley speculated about planets containing internal cavities. Centuries later, Soviet researchers and others pointed out odd features of the moon that seemed to demand explanation. What arguments do proponents of a manufactured moon present? Start with appearances. Observers note the moon's palette, bright whites, yellows, oranges, even hints of blue, and then point to eclipses during a total solar eclipse. The moon perfectly covers the sun's disk, leaving only the corona glowing around a dark circle. The match in apparent size is so precise that conspiracy theorists call it suspicious. If the moon were only slightly closer or farther, it couldn't produce such a flawless cover. Two critics: such a coincidence looks less like chance and more like calculation. Next, the moon's physical behavior. It's unusually spherical and unusually large relative to Earth compared with other planetary satellites. It's tightly locked, the same face always points at us, which leaves the far side forever hidden. That unseen hemisphere prompts speculation. Could there be structures, bases, or other artifacts tucked away from our view? Then there's the way the moon sounds. During Apollo missions, seismometers placed on the surface recorded moonquakes. Some of those vibrations were long-lived and unique compared to earthquakes on Earth. When hardware deliberately struck the lunar surface, for example, the ascent stage impact during Apollo 12, the resulting vibrations reverberated for minutes, not seconds. NASA researchers describe certain moonquake signals as resembling the ringing of a bell, a resonance that decayed slowly. On Earth, seismic energy typically dissipates faster because a wetter, more fractured crust soaks up vibrations. The moon's prolonged ringing suggests a very different internal structure. Impact craters add another puzzle. On Earth, crater depth and diameter scale predictably with impact energy. On the moon, however, many craters, from small pits to enormous basins hundreds of kilometers across, don't match simple expectations. Some huge craters don't show the depth you'd predict. Calculations imply that massive impacts should have punched far deeper. Conspiracy thinkers hypothesize a tough subsurface layer, an impenetrable, dark armor that deflects or absorbs cosmic blows. Others speculate about dense materials like titanium forming a hidden framework below a dusty covering of regolith. Regolith itself is peculiar, a dry, brittle blanket of pulverized rock, formed over eons by micrometeoroid bombardment. Proponents of artificiality argue that such a layer could cover an engineered skeleton, smoothing over metallic structures and giving the moon its familiar look. Magnetism raises yet another eyebrow. Apollo collected samples showed surprising magnetic properties in upper layer soils, despite the moon's near absence of a global magnetic field today. Even stranger, much of the surface material appears younger than deeper samples, as if the moon's outer layer had been mixed or overturned. A point cited by those who think the satellite was manipulated by intelligent agents. Density. Measurements add fuel to speculation. The moon's overall density is lower than Earth's. Skeptics say this supports a hollow or composite interior. For others, the answer lies in formation scenarios like a massive early impact between Earth and a Mars-sized body. But to those favoring the artificial hypothesis, the combination of low density, long-lasting seismic reverberations, crater oddities, and magnetic anomalies forms a pattern worth investigating. Who would build such a thing? If the moon were engineered, when and why? Conventional science estimates the moon's age at roughly 4.5 billion years, long before Homo sapiens or any known technological civilization. Some researchers imagine catastrophic eras, billions of years ago, or lost advanced cultures that predate our archaeological record. In fringe interpretations, earlier spacefaring societies might have placed a device in orbit to illuminate nights, serve as a staging base for exploration, or observe evolving life on Earth. Echoing this, a minority of modern thinkers, including a few involved in speculative research, have suggested there could be installations or even habitable niches hidden within or beneath the lunar surface. They point out that if any inhabitants existed, keeping an atmosphere would require vents and which might create visible shimmering or haze in photographs taken at different times and with different equipment. Photographic anomalies are commonly cited. Among the thousands of moon photos, theorists claim many show hazes, smudges, or indistinct blobs that could indicate outgassing vents or dust plumes. Skeptics argue these are imaging artifacts, lighting effects, or dust on lenses. Advocates see patterns and point to specific events. One of the most concrete twists in recent decades came from lunar probes that probed permanently shadowed craters near the poles. When impactors struck these regions, ejecta analyses indicated water ice, volatile elements, and unexpectedly high concentrations of hydrogen, signs that the moon retains water in cold traps. Some interpretations calculated that polar ice deposits could have melted, supply volumes comparable to large terrestrial lakes. For those imagining a livable interior, that water becomes a tantalizing resource, drinkable, usable for fuel, and a source of oxygen. Prominent early proponents of artificiality even framed the moon as more than a base, as a spacecraft itself, perhaps an interstellar object captured by the sun's gravity eons ago and parked near Earth. That idea stretches into myth and hypothesis, mixing data with imagination. The truth. Most lunar scientists favor natural explanations, giant impacts, volcanic activity, space weathering, and the quirks of a body with little atmosphere. But the moon's anomalies, its resonance, its crater oddities, its magnetic and compositional inconsistencies, and the presence of water ice in shadowed crib-like basins keep the conversation lively. They remind us that exploration isn't finished. Whether the moon is purely a product of cosmic geology or hides a more remarkable origin, its mysteries invite us to keep asking questions, keep returning, and keep listening for that unexpected ring.